It's Jen and I'm with Sew It Online, and I'm here today to help you guys cut out those mask patterns faster. I wanted to show you one of my favorite tools. It's the Brother ScanNCut DX225. If you guys haven't seen this, you're in for a real treat, because this is a fabulous machine. You can cut fabric with it, you can cut cardstock, you can do all kinds of crafting with it. But lately, since we're all making masks, we're trying to get those masks cut out a little bit faster. I'm going to show you a trick. So let me open this up here. And first I'm going to show you that it does have storage compartments inside, which is nice. The previous models didn't have that, so now you can keep your tools nice and handy. So I've already printed out the pattern from our website, and this is the first pattern, the preferred pattern. So all you have to do is print it, and then you're going to lay it inside of the scanning mat. Now the scanning mat is an additional accessory that I do recommend. It's just, you get a cleaner, crisper scan when you use this mat. Then I'm going to go over here to the screen and I'm going to press the load button. So I'm going to load my mat. And you see it kind of eats your mat. And there's two different sizes. There's a 12 by 12 and a 12 by 24. I'm using the 12 by 24 because, let's be honest, I'm lazy. I want to get this done so I can put more on one mat if I put them all in the big one. And then I have two options on my screen. I have pattern or scan. Well, what are we doing? We're going to scan. So I'm going to hit the scan button. Now either I'm going to direct cut or scan to cut later. Well, I don't want to cut on this mat, so I'm going to scan to cut data later. So I'm going to hit the second button here. And then it's asking me, am I doing black and white image? Am I doing a color image? Well, this is obviously black and white, so that's right. But you could see on the screen it says scan area 12 by 12. I'm using the 12 by 24 mat, so we're going to have to select the correct mat. So right here, scan area, if I touch that button, I have my options. 12 by 24 is what I want. Hit OK, and hit OK again, and now I have a start button. So go ahead and hit that start button, and it's going to ask you to check your scanner level position, which is the button here on the side, and I'm going to lower that. I was cutting something thicker earlier, so I have to lower that to level 1. Go ahead and hit OK and start, and the machine is going to go ahead and scan your mat. Now I have the pattern, and I also put our logo on there because I'm going to make Connor a t-shirt. He doesn't know it yet, but I'm going to make him a t-shirt because I wanted you to see how you can cut different kinds of materials on here. So I have fabric that's already been treated with Terrial Magic. Terrial Magic is a spray, and it actually makes the fabric pretty stiff. So I have some fabric that's treated and some fabric that's not over here, so you can see the difference. So this is my floppy fabric, and you can see how it kind of crinkles. And then this is the fabric that I've treated with Terrial Magic. See how much stiffer it is? So it doesn't crinkle like your regular fabric would. You can use also a product called Heat and Bond Featherlight if you're going to be doing applique. But in this situation, since we're sewing masks, I just spray it with the Terrial Magic and I use my heat press to set that. So it goes really quick. Now this might be hard for you to see on the screen, but don't worry, I've already done this for you. So it has the image that we can see here on the mat, on the screen. And all you do is select one of the icons here, and then you can crop out what you don't want. Hit OK, and then you wait a second, and then you're going to either save it to the machine or a USB stick. You can also save it wirelessly to what they call the Canvas Workspace, which is a free software that's online that comes with the purchase of the machine. You could do a little bit more editing with it. I don't have that set up right now. I'm actually just going to save it right to the machine. So we're going to save it to the machine, and then we're going to hit the home button and grab it after it's done. It's thinking. Okay, there we go. Hit OK. And now I'm going to hit my home button and eject my mat because we're done with that. So now I told you I already did this before. I actually pulled it up on my stick and I've separated them for you. But you can see I have my pieces here on my mat. So there's the big long one, which is going to end up being the front of the mask. And then I also have the smaller one. So that's going to be the lining. So then you hit OK. And we can edit. And you can move these around. You can get as many as you can cut out on one mat. I'm actually going to be cutting the outer piece first. Hold on, let me get my mat. So So I've already loaded my mat. This is already treated with Terial Magic. I'm going to load this in here. Now don't forget that when you're cutting these masks out, you want to cut one right side up and one wrong side up. So you are going to have to flip it. Otherwise you're going to have right side and wrong side of fabric, and that's not going to look too nice. So I'm actually going to delete the smaller one just for now. And then I'm going to copy the bigger one. So to do that, I go into Object, Edit, and then see this plus button. That's copy. You can copy as many times as you want. Right now I'm just going to do 2 to show you how this works. And then I'm going to move that up. Now remember, I have to flip that. So we're going to do a mirror image. That's this button right here. Looks like 2 arrows pointing at each other. And then if you want, you can nest these. I'm going to rotate this and try to get as most out of my fabric as I can. Let's see. But don't forget, if you're doing directional, which I am, you're not going to want to have them going different ways. Okay, so keep that in mind. All right, so let's move that one up there and this one over here. And now the best feature of this machine is that they call it the ScanNCut. Number 1, because it scans. Number 2, because it cuts. You saw one version of the scanning when we scanned in the other mat, but this is where I use it the most. I can actually scan my mat with my fabric on it, and I'll show you that. It's going to do that right now. And you push the button that looks kind of like a little oven, but it's really a scanner. So what it's doing is scanning my mat, and then what's on my mat appears on my screen. So I can make sure that my pieces are actually getting cut on the fabric. So if you just have little scraps of fabric at home, which you probably do because I know I do, you can put a bunch of different scraps on this mat and cut several different pieces on there and make sure that you're fussy cutting and getting exactly what you want cut out of that fabric. So you're wasting a lot less. All right, so you see here, and I don't know if you can tell this. Let's see if I can go in and edit and zoom in. Can you see at the top here how I'm kind of going over the edge of the fabric? I can actually now move that piece down to make sure that it's actually going to cut on the fabric. That's where this really saves you. Because if I didn't do that, some of the other machines out there, yes, they have this electronic cutter, but they don't have the scanning feature. So then you end up chopping off part of your design because it wasn't laid out properly. So now I'm going to go in here to move and move that other one down. All right, that looks good. I'm going to hit OK again. Now it asks me, okay, what do you want to do? So I'm going to hit the please select button, and it asks me cut, draw, emboss, foil. There's several options in here. You can do a lot with this machine. There's all kinds of attachments and blades and different things that you can do. Here we're just going to cut. So I'm going to hit the cut button, and I can test cut and I can start. One thing I do encourage you to do is make sure you hit this settings button, because this machine has what's called an auto blade. Some cutting machines out there, you actually have to set the depth of the blade, which isn't hard to do, but it can get tedious over time, because if you're cutting one fabric consistently and then you switch to another, you have to kind of figure out what setting to put that blade on. An auto blade is going to do that for you. So now you don't even have to think about it. That's kind of a no-brainer to me. But on a piece of fabric like this, you want to make sure that your half cut feature is off. I always encourage people to check that, because I do a lot with heat transfer vinyl and like sticky vinyl, and on those kind of materials you want to have half cut on. So when you're cutting fabric, you want to make sure you're cutting all the way through. So we've turned half cut off, okay, and now we're going to hit start. And it shows you it's going to take 1 minute to cut. That's a long time. So while this is cutting, you could actually go and start sewing. So you could just keep going back and forth, sewing and cutting, sewing and cutting. You can get a lot done. Now, if you have an embroidery machine, a lot of embroidery designs are coming with what's called an SVG file. So if you have applique shapes, you know, that are fancy, you can actually cut those shapes before you start your embroidery on the embroidery machine or on the ScanNCut. And this works with you have a Brother or a Baby Lock machine. It's pretty awesome. All right, so that's cut. Hit hit OK. Let's eject. And I'm going to close this. And as you can see, I have my pieces. They're all ready. Now I could have gotten more out of here. Obviously you don't want to waste all your fabric, but this is good fabric I can use later on. So there's my outside fabric, my inside fabric. Now what I want to do is I'm going to make that t-shirt for Connor. Now this is heat transfer vinyl. So it's actually an iron-on, and it has a carrier sheet. And the reason I wanted to show you this is because you're going to want to make sure that you put it on with the shiny side down. Okay, so you're actually going to be mirror imaging anything that you're going to cut. That way when you put it on your shirt or whatever surface, it's going to come out right. It's especially true for letters. If you don't do it right on the letters, then you're going to have backwards letters and you can only read them if you're looking in a mirror. So let me stick this in here. And now we're just going to go back to our home button and delete our screen. Go to retrieve data, and then again on the USB stick. And that's from the original scan. Remember I had the Million Mask logo down there? So I just cropped out our mask logo and I blew it up. So there's our mask pattern. Hit OK. And here's our little scan button, because remember I want to scan and make sure that I'm cutting on my fabric. But what didn't I do first? On this design it really doesn't matter, but you have to mirror image. And as you can see, it's not a big difference on the screen. But if this had lettering, like when I go to write Million Mask Challenge, I'm going to want to do that. So hit OK. And now we're going to scan it. Oh, and nope, it's going to work. Because now you can see I'm using the 12 by 12 mat. So there's different size mats. It comes with several mats that you can use. The mats are sticky. I do encourage you to keep the top sheet that comes with it, because it's just going to protect your mat a little bit better. As your mat loses stick, you can wash it with hot soapy water, and then it'll kind of refreshen the life of your mat. But it's always a good idea to have several on hand just in case. All right, so now I can see that I am going to be cutting on my material here. I'm going to go ahead and go OK. Please select. Again, I'm going to cut. And this time I want to turn my half cut on. But you know, I'm going to do one more thing, because this is an awful lot of heat transfer vinyl and I don't want to waste it. So I'm actually going to go back and add a box around here so I don't waste all the excess. So if I go into add, you see I have built-in patterns. I've got basic shapes, I got fun shapes, I've even got words and letters. I'm just going to get a square. I can't remember how big I made this. So I'm just going to make this a little bit bigger. And then let's see. That's big enough. I'm going to move my square so it's over top of my mask. And then I'm going to resize it a little bit more. So I'm going to make it, I don't need to make it bigger that way. I just need to make it bigger the other way. So again, you have a lot of editing features that are right here on the machine, and that's one of the reasons I really love this machine, because you don't have to use a computer with it. If you just want to sit down and cut, or you're not good on a computer, you don't need to. A lot of the other machines are computer-based cutters, and this one is not. So it's a much easier to use. It's much quicker, and I think it's much more precise because it has that scanning feature. Those other machines don't have that. And trust me, I've used them all. I like easy, I like fast. So you could see now, we're just going to go in here and move this square. Oh, see, I'm lazy. I'm just going to drag it. And then I'll select the mask and drag that in the center. So now I'll have a little box that cuts around my mask. That way I'm not wasting all that vinyl. All right, add, select. We're going to cut it. All right, our half cut is on. We should be good to go. Right? I think so. What am I missing? Test. All right, so test, I don't want to do test. Just want to do start. Oh, okay. See, this is why it wasn't letting me. Remember I was using the 12 by 24 mat before? I forgot to tell it I was doing that this time. So I have to go back here to the settings and tell it which mat I'm using. That's the one thing, it doesn't quite recognize what mat you're doing. It does, but it doesn't. All right, so here I can hit select, cut, and now my start button is there. So go ahead and hit start and just wait for it to be done. Now this again, this is a heat transfer vinyl, so you can put this on a lot of different fabrics. We use it in quilting, we use it on t-shirts, we even use it on like tote bags or things that are hard to embroider. You know, I love to embroider on things, but there are certain things that just won't fit in the embroidery machine or maybe are a little too thick or awkward. So this is a really good option. I've got some samples here if you want to see what else you can do with the ScanNCut. So this is one that I did of a friend of mine's kids. So you can use other programs, like I used Photoshop and broke up the picture and then was able to create the picture of his kids. And this is a fuzzy heat transfer vinyl, but we made a nice bag for his wife for Mother's Day of the kids. So that was just a fun gift. You know, that would have taken forever to do on the embroidery machine, but it's pretty quick on the ScanNCut. My daughter went to school and they had a fundraiser for one of the girls in her school that actually lost a leg. And so they made these t-shirts that said Team Tessa, and everybody wore those for about a week in the school. So that was pretty fun. There's also a rhinestone program that you can add on to the software so you can make rhinestone designs. Now what it's going to do is cut the template for you, and then you just dump the crystals on there, brush them around, and you can stick all these crystals on in one step. It's pretty cool. Much better than having to try to line those up one at a time, I'll tell you that. We love to have towel parties at the holidays. You know, you come up with fun sayings. You know, you'll shoot your eye out, dog pound, Ohio State. Can you tell where we're from? So anybody that you know, you can make a lot of different things for them. There's even sticky vinyl that can go on a three-dimensional surface that you can't embroider on or you can't put in an iron. And you can personalize too. So personalizing is something that we like to do too. You can get blanks like this just about anywhere nowadays. I've even seen cheese boards, cutting boards, and then you can put the vinyl on them. You can do etching. There's a lot that you can do with the ScanNCut. We have all kinds of classes, but where we are, we like to use it in conjunction with our embroidery machine and with our sewing. So we're cutting fabric with it and we're using it with our embroidery machines. All right, so let's see how this turned out. Let's eject this. And again, I'm going to close this up. And now you have these fancy tools called hook tools. And I got to see here. But see, what happens, this is called weeding. This is the only kind of weeding I like. You can ask anybody that I know. I do not go out in the garden. That is not my thing. But I do like to weed this. This is, for some reason, very satisfying to me. Because when you peel this up, it's just fun to watch. All these little pieces stay that are supposed to stay. This is going to be a nice little shirt. So then I could peel this off. Whew. That's a brand new mat. Nice and sticky. Love that sound. Okay. And then what I would do is just trim off the excess here. Now you can apply this with an iron if you have an iron, or I highly recommend, if you're going to do a lot of them, to invest in a heat press, because a heat press is much, much faster and it gives 100 pounds of pressure, so it's a lot easier to apply it. So you can actually stick this on your shirt, not with you wearing it, put it in the heat press without you wearing it, and it'll just press on there. So you can also cut out lettering, you know, do whatever you want. But you can make your own personalized shirts with a ScanNCut. You can cut out your fabric for your masks with the ScanNCut. We do have this machine on sale on our website, sewitonline.com. It normally goes for $1099.99 and it's on sale right now for $599.99. And you're also going to get the roll feeder. This is an $80 value. So this is going to allow you to take a whole roll of vinyl like this. This comes on a really big roll. So you could do a whole roll of vinyl on there and it'll cut without a mat. So you could do borders for your wall. I mean, you could do wall art, all kinds of stuff. But that's a really huge deal. So if you're interested, I would go ahead to our website, click here, buy now, and start cutting. Check us out, subscribe to our videos, and guys, keep sewing. You guys are doing an amazing job and helping. I mean, you have no idea. It's awesome to see everybody pull together the way that they have, and we can't do much more but thank you. So I hope to see you guys soon. Have a good day.